we have a different view.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong right in front, but I'll provide my perspective.
We're live.
I'm ready
Alex,
for
we're
it.
live.
Exactly.
All right, welcome everyone to the Forward Black and Brown Coalition here at the Doc Bookshop. We're so excited to be with everyone. We've got community here on the stage at the Doc Bookshop with us. We've also got some community behind the camera. You want to say hi from behind the camera?
Hi from behind the camera.
So we're here today to talk about what is the impact of a TEA, Texas Education Agency takeover of Fort Worth ISD. This is something that has become much more of a potential and reality in Texas, especially when we saw Houston ISD get taken over a few years ago by the state, and there were some major impacts. The state is going to sell things that they want to sell that are good, but there were some very major impacts that impacted students, parents, teachers, the whole community. And so we want to have a conversation with the community here in Fort Worth and have a check-in around, first, what does everyone know about this? What are people's concerns or thoughts around it? Our diverse communities have had different experiences within the Fort Worth ISD, within the Fort Worth Independent School District. And so for some, the thought of a TEA takeover, they're not completely understanding what the problem is because they've seen their schools really suffer. And what has led to this is that there is one campus in particular in Fort Worth ISD, that I gotta figure out how to say that there. In Fort Worth ISD that had a failed rating for 5 years in a row. That's the threshold.
Yes.
One campus,
Yeah.
and the district the size of ours that have over 60,000 students, I think, still, that the state can take this over. And Houston ISD was a much larger school district, also had one campus,
Right.
and was able to rip through that community with a lot of changes that were not good for a lot of people. So let's open it up to community. If you're online on YouTube or Facebook, be sure to join the conversation. Put your questions in the comments and we will spotlight them as we're going through this. But let's just kind of do a check-in with everyone. What is your perspective on this takeover? What have you heard about it? And then we'll go from there. Who would like to kick us off?
I'll start. I have heard about the takeover over the years. As a matter of fact, I've been kind of keeping up with the Fort Worth Independent School District, probably over the last 5 or 6 years. But I have a personal perspective because I'm a born and raised Fort Worth native and attended the Fort Worth Independent School District. And so some of these issues that they're saying is this current, say, 5-year window, some of the same things were going on, and I've been out of high school 40 years. And so it's a systemic issue that's always been prevalent in the Fort Worth Independent School District. And so I do believe that we do need different leadership because the definition of insanity is to do the same thing and expect a different result. Now, I don't have the details as it relates to what the state is going to do specifically as far as the changes. That's the details that really haven't been presented.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing your perspective. Who would like to go next?
I'll go next. I would say along those lines, yes, obviously there's major concerns about the fact that, there's just a huge need for and call for help from so many teachers in the district. But I don't, and so there needs to be change, but I'm just not confident that this is the change that we need. There's not a lot of clarity on what the change would be. And I just, based on everything that's been happening, I just have trust issues in what that change should be, long story short.
Go.
Yes, specifically
Awesome.
the state.
Thanks so much for sharing. Who would like to go next? Are we gonna go down the line?
I guess we go.
Let's put less pressure on everyone having to choose.
I can be pretty brief. I mean, we've watched this happen in Houston. It has not been a positive thing for Houston ISD. We know that with Mike Morath and the Texas Public Policy Foundation and Greg Abbott and all these people, there has been a long planned effort to take over public schools in one way or another. So finding fault with public school districts and sending in their guy to take over and let the state take over a district it doesn't help the district in the long run.
Yeah, I'll say as they dive into these takeovers, the people in the district lose all control, right? It is the state dictating everything that's happening. It could be as simple as, look, we eliminate all the school board trustees that are there. We install a management group. We're bringing somebody to serve as a superintendent. I mean, they have all the control at that point. And the local people have none, right? You get no say in what's actually happening in your district. The other thing is, not to say that the problems, right, that have been there are systemic and are throughout, but the way the Texas Education Agency has set these rating scales for schools, they're raising the bar every year, redefining what a score is after all the tests are done every single year. So even though a district may be making progress, a campus may be making progress.
Wow.
It's not reflected in the scores because the state keeps changing what acceptable is. And that's patently unfair to the people who are in the district, who are doing incredible work working with kids. And it ignores, what people are coming into the door with and how much movement some of these teachers and educators are working with, right? And so I think takeover, there are lots of other things we can do that is not ceding control of Fort Worth ISD to the state.
Standardized testing is a whole conversation in itself.
Yeah. So I am a teacher. I actually used to teach in Dallas, where Mike Morath originated. Now, granted, I wasn't teaching then when he was over it, but because of the union that I'm a part of, there was never anything good that they mentioned about that man. They were just like, he was just terrible. Because a lot of the things that he did do in Houston, he tried with Dallas. And because of teachers and the teachers union, they're able to, get them out. I think something that I don't think a lot of people talk about is there's this this mindset kind of within like the zeitgeist of how people are perceiving education, right? Like, that it needs a lot of improvement, right? There are a lot of things that need to change within education. And I believe that people like Mike Morath feel like, okay, there's a problem, let me solve it. But the things that he's using are extremely erroneous, right? You have the fact that you are trying to privatize education, right? Which, let's be honest, that's just going to usher in segregation, right? And we are in Texas.
It's one of the last states.
Yeah. Oh man, listen, don't let me get into talking about Dallas and how long that took to integrate 2003. All my people who read the accommodation. So we've got privatization and kind of like the using numbers and math to quantify intelligence, right? I think that is a very narrow way of looking at education, and it's primarily pushing schooling, right? Okay, we just want you guys to go to school and everything like that. And I think folks are seeing the problems of education and they're thinking, well, okay, businesses work so much better, right? Look at all these businesses, look at all these people that have all this money, all these types of money. So, okay, if they're good with that, education in and of itself is terrible. So let's let's try to apply some business principles to make that better. Or, what's wrong with math, right? The numbers don't lie. And I think that by taking on those mindsets, I feel like it can make people feel as if it's a de facto way of solving the problem. And we all know that, like, education, wow, education,
Bring
education clearly is just a whole host of things, that can make it successful. And I think it's just, to kind of land the plane, I think it's just frustrating because I think I've even had conversations with parents that are okay with it, but I think once we're able to kind of label that problem and open their minds to see like how bad it is, we can get their consent, so to speak, because I feel like the consent is being manufactured on the other side because they want their kids to be educated, they want things to be improved, but they don't know kind of like, the evil that's happening. So,
him and then you.
So, what I'll say is that it does seem to be a generational issue. It does seem to be a huge, huge problem in how they're bringing business into the system. And it's what I've noticed because I have quite a few friends that are teachers, and I wanted to be a teacher myself until this whole disaster with the STAR tests and the testing just turned me completely off. I don't think it's a good idea for the TEA to take over schools. Even you said it was, we know what the school is, right? With the 5 consecutive.
Forest.
Forest Oak.
Forest, which is now closed.
Yeah, they just closed Forest Oak after this year. I just, it's one of those things where I don't think state takeover, we know what they're trying to enforce here. And it just seems to be a continual issue. So I think it's just time at this point, you got to clean house. It start from the top. Because even when I was in school, we had schools where, yes, they did extend the school district, the dates of school that made them year round. So sometimes you didn't get out until the end of June. Me myself, I remember it. June 21st of 97, excuse me. I was at Briscoe and they had us going to school starting in that July 21st of 97.
I'm impressed with your memory.
Yeah, yeah. I was not happy about it.
That's cool.
Poor memory.
Yeah, it did. Because we was the first school to go back and we was the last school to get out all the way up until 2000.
Wow.
And they tried to put the blame on the principal. It's like, no, sometimes we have to look at the neighborhood. Sometimes we got to add more tutors in here. I remember they used to have TCU students, all kind of students come in to help us. And it's really not a lot of that no more from what I've been told and what I've seen.
Thanks for sharing. Mr. Starr, would you like to go next?
I thought I had a list of all the schools that had F ratings.
In the last 6 years.
Yeah, and when you get old, you forget, but I'm thinking we got at least 10, 11 schools that got D or F ratings consistently for the last 5 or 6 years. And with that, the state gonna take over, no ands, if, or buts. And just because on paper, Austin had less schools than that, and they took over. Houston had less schools than that, and they took over. So we have backed ourselves in a corner that the state has no other alternative but to take it over. We don't have the Jim Wrights no more that can maneuver things behind closed doors and fix it so it don't happen. If the state don't take over, it's gonna be hell to pay in Fort Worth in the state of Texas. We're gonna have lawsuits running out of the tree. It's gonna be like a kid walking in Toys R Us and picking whatever he want to pick up because you can't justify not doing it.
Right.
But my question has to be, do the community have any type of pull that we might have some type of say so and making recommendation as to who they gonna sit on the board? Or are they just gonna come in and say, we're gonna take you, and that's who's gonna be the new board? Because that last month Nicole Collier meeting, she said that the guy that's gonna make this final decision had called the Fort Worth delegation together, a representative, and asked them for possible names and suggestions of individuals that could be considered to be on the board. So, and I ain't been have a chance to talk to her because she been on lockdown. But at which point they come through and publicly say, hey, we taking over and we getting rid of the board. Is it a done deal then? Have the people's already been selected to serve on the board? And if not, where do we start calling, making phone calls to see, hey, can we submit names of possible individuals that can serve on the board? Now, I called Roderick's office and talked to Leon, and Leon said, because I told Leon, I said, you know, I think there's more than 65 to 7% of the schools in Fort Worth ID is in Roderick's precinct, precinct 1. I think the vast majority of schools is in his precinct. I said, are they gonna even give him a courtesy call saying, hey, this is what we're gonna do? Or do you at least have somebody that you want to recommend to serve on the board or what? So do we have any clout, or do we know anybody that we can call and start saying, are y'all in the position to take recommendations to serve on the board or what? Or will we find out like everybody else do when it's in the newspaper?
Or 2 weeks before school starts.
No, school already started. They ain't.
Thanks for sharing. Good questions.
That's what they.
Do you like to share some thoughts before we?
No, I'm here to take it all in.
Oh, you-
Take it all in.
okay.
I'm an educator in the district, so it's always interesting to hear what the community thinks. We know what we feel. We know what we're experiencing. I don't know if there are any other Fort Worth ISD educators here.
It's
Former. Well, I mean, right here.
5 years of limit when it first opened.
And my voice is easily recognizable, so I'm pretty sure my people will know who it is.
AI has picked it up. It's sitting its
It's already said, I know it, I know. So, I'm just kind of get a feel for the pulse of the community and to see what type of support we have. You know, I know that, you know, I'm like y'all, I'm looking at what happened in Houston and all this other, what my friends are feeling there in HISD. And they're running out to Klein ISD and other smaller districts and seeing how they were, with the salaries and promises and broken promises and things like that. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen to us who are in it for the ministry of it, because we do love it and we do want to make the impact on students. What's going to happen? You know, what are the resources that will be available to us or no longer available? You know, so just y'all got any intel on that?
So definitely appreciate everyone sharing their perspective. I just want to maybe.
We have one more.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
came in at the end, and so I.
No, go ahead.
assumed
Actually, we have 2 more
about-
people who can share. Yeah.
About the eventual state takeover, so I'm having,
Are you sure?
yeah, I'm sure.
I think you're being nice. If I'm real pushy, will you say something?
I'm a retired Fort Worth ISD
Oh, there we go.
employee, so.
So what are your thoughts?
They've seen maybe.
Well, I have lots of thoughts, but the bigger picture is the state's going to, in my opinion, they're going to actually take over. There may or may not be movement of people that are in high positions.
Yeah. So you feel like this has been the plan, and they're gonna follow through on it.
Not that I have any special insight or anything and information, that's just from looking over and working with the district for several years.
Thank you. Yeah. And we're definitely gonna keep digging for some insights from you. Would you like to share perspective on the impact of the TEA takeover Fort Worth ISD if this moves forward?
Can y'all get me through this math?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Um, mine is the more of a grassroots level, I think, and I don't know how we do it. But Fort Worth Independent School District shut down parents and community participation years ago. Years ago, when they did have good participation, I'll give you one good example, it won't take long. Dunbar once had a community school where people from the community went in to, worked on wood shop. The building was used for wood shop, language classes, students could go in and get tutoring. And this was like 4 or 5 nights a week. And the place was full because of community people from community went and actually did what the building sits now, what? Dormant from 3:45 until 7:45 the next morning, unless they got football practice outside. I think we have got to, and I'll say this, we have got to figure out a way to get community people involved, whether it's pie baking contests, and well, you've got people saying, okay, I want to go up there, I want to do what I can. And we have to remember, a lot of parents did not get involved in school, in after school activities or PTA because they didn't have a real good experience when they were students in school. I mean, if everybody treated you like you was a C&D student, you didn't have a lot of clothes, you weren't one of those prominent, you didn't have much. And so teachers weren't like maybe when I was coming along, if you could learn that long poem that you had to learn, you got some recognition. And parents were encouraged to come to the school. During the regime of one Fort Worth ISD director, teachers were told not to have parents come up to their school district. And that's when we lost them. That's when we lost. So I'm saying, if we're going to give, the state's gonna come in, anybody can come in and take over at this point in time. So I think what we have to do is figure ways that we can involve get parents to come in and you got to start at the lower grades now. I think we waited too late for those kids in junior high and above. Now it's not impossible. Because you'll have some elderly people like me with a staff and a few of the others who will go to meetings and who will speak for the student, and will to say we need to work to improve this. We don't need to stay taken over. But I think what we've got to do is encourage. We've got to get parents of children, and we've got to bring out those elderly people in communities and churches and say, look, we need y'all to come and support the works for children at this school. That's the only way it can survive. State's only gonna come in and look at scores, or supposedly look at scores. They don't really care. So the only way we can redo this is go from the community, get community people involved, get those senior citizens involved, get some other get the black business people involved. That's the only way you're gonna survive this. Other than that, it's just gonna get worse. And that's just my one personal opinion.
But how many of us know that at the end of last school year that the Fort Worth ISD hired a young lady that's a sister to be the chief director of communication and community partnership? She can come and keep us informed and tell us what's going on in the school district, but none of our school board members bother to hold a community forum and say, hey, this is our new communication and community partnership director. If y'all want her to come out and tell what's going on, bring her out. We don't know what's going on. Our school board members don't hold meetings and tell us what's going on. So, we need to utilize what we got. We don't know. And regardless of what the state do, she's still gonna have a job. So why can't we hold a community meeting and invite her to come out and tell her role and how she can assist us and help us and what exactly she's gonna do? She's been here since May.
I think that's a great action. I'm gonna make a document of, make a note of.
Ready? Okay.
Go for it.
Willie, you're correct. The representative, I'm not gonna call out name, but the representative for this area, he's been in that position for a number of years.
Quentin?
Well,
Yeah, we can name names.
you can name names.
You're Trustee Phillips, right?
Yeah, he's been in that position for a number of years, and I think that, again, to continue to do the same thing, and expect a different result. And I think the communication with the community hasn't been good as far as holding him accountable for the lack of performance within his zone. And the one thing that I would ask with the takeover in Houston or wherever they've occurred, what have been the results thus far? Has there been any improvement? Is there any documentation as far as improvement or failure, or is it still stagnant?
I think we'll definitely get to Houston Impact here in a little bit. I want to emphasize a few things that I heard from folks say, and just talk about that more than one thing can be true at the same time, right? And I think locally, folks have lived through frustrations with local leadership in Fort Worth ISD, whether at the campus level or the administration level, that they feel haven't addressed things that could be addressed in working in with community, having communication with community and things like that. So I think there's legitimate frustration. An example of that is that Wanda McKinney is the one who filed the complaint with the Office of Civil Rights over the funds from the pandemic through the ESSER funds. And it was through her analysis of doing for 2 years of tracking that she was able to show that there was racial inequities and systemic racism with the allocation of funds that came from ESSER funds to schools that were predominantly Black students, but also Black and brown students. And so that was just the latest example of local leadership having funds, having the responsibility to figure out how to do best with these funds, and failing, in particular, our Black students, because they were the only ones who regressed in literacy out of every community, including our special education community. And so that can be something that is very real based on people's experiences that I think I heard from folks. And it didn't just happen from the pandemic. It's been in generations of those kind of missteps. So I think that can be true, right? But I think the other part that can be true is that for over a decade, the state of Texas has been actively working to reduce resources for public education, to make mandates and rules that they don't fund, requiring local school districts to have to jump through additional hurdles to try to meet the requirements of the state. We've had 2 years where the STAR test didn't count because the testing apparatus of it all failed, which is a huge red flag. How do you hire a vendor who cannot actually give you the results of a test and say, we're not going to count it, but we still have these ratings? And that we're going to tie your schools to.
And you still
That
have
was,
a
that,
board.
that was the crazy part.
Right. So they have intentionally done things and presented as whoops, or presented as, wow, we're trying to figure this out still. The state has also created a separate educational system through charter schools as under the disguise of choice, but so private money and privatization can get normalized. And for some of our communities having charter school options, they're open to, because their local school was failing, because it's a combination of local leadership and what the state is doing. But that tactic hurt us even more because it's taking funds away from school districts and it's giving a separate school system the choice to choose their students. because they don't have to serve all the special
No.
education needs. They don't have to serve all the language needs. They don't have to serve all these different things that public schools
And
are
there's no
required to do.
transportation, so if you don't have,
Transportation.
if you don't have a ride to the charter school, you're not going.
Exactly. So they have all of these things to stack the deck against public schools by building this separate system. And now they just passed vouchers, which is helping support the third system with public dollars, which are private schools. So the state has not raised the rate and allocation per student since 2018, I believe, 2019. I think 2019 was the last time.
2019 was the last time.
They raised the rate, and even the models of that are based off the 80s in some cases, in terms of the formulas for allocation and everything. So, two things can be true. Our local leadership have failed at moments when they didn't have to, but our state has aggressively been working to dismantle public education, and it's death by 1,000 cuts.
Yes.
And they've been finding every way they can to try to hurt and harm. And then they get to set the rules and say, well, you get this grade because we're going to decide what is a value. I'll give you a personal example. My oldest went to Leonard Middle School. My youngest is currently in Leonard Middle School on the west side.
Closure list too. Well, it was.
But now it's a leadership academy. So it's getting a little extra funds, but that's a whole other story. Principal Williams, who was there when my oldest was in the middle school, I would talk to her a lot about the things that are trying to be improved, and she was very data driven, meeting the state where they were at.
Yeah.
And she had gotten to where the school should have been, I think, like a high C is what it had gotten. Like it jumped. But then the state came back and said, oh, this area where you improved more than 5 points, we're going to cap it at 5. It's a new rule they just established. That was not a part of the rules. And why they invested, because they looked at the gains they could make and said, okay, if we put more gains in the growth areas for students and do these different things, we can actually bump up some points and have some progress based on the calculation. Well, the state saw what they did and said, no, you're capped. You can only improve by this much per year. And it was just a way to put their foot on the middle school so it couldn't be perceived as good as it should have been. And the state has done that to campuses all throughout the district at different points and all throughout the state. So the bigger enemy, in my opinion, here is the state and what they've been actively doing to try to dismantle public education. But going back to the comments about community, we have a responsibility in this, and we have to figure out how do we actually work together as community to solve the gaps we see in our local leadership. And if they do the board of managers, they get to choose. And then one example in Houston, the person who lost the election for school board trustee was chosen to be on the board of managers. So the people that actually rejected somebody not to represent them, and the state said, no, we want that person to be on the board of managers.
Sound about right.
So they are actively going to do whatever they can to build structure to make it harder for us. And we already have so many hurdles to overcome as a community and as a people. But we have to figure out how do we solve this one? Because this pain we're gonna feel for the next several decades. You know, so that I just want to highlight some of the things that were shared, kind of add a little bit to it, but go ahead.
Because they haven't stripped and got rid of the board as of right now, how do we hold our elected officials accountable? Make them hold community meetings and inform us of what's going on. If it's nothing simple than to say, hey, they 3 months behind on redoing Jack Yates, you know, and we're gonna work on that. They're more than 6 months behind.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think the middle school is called over there by Dunbar?
Jack K.
K.
Jack K.
Okay. I'm from Houston.
I'm like, I'm Texas. Jack K.
We used to call it, when I was growing up, it was Dunbar 6 or 7
Yeah,
and
but
8.
Jack K, yeah.
Jack K, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they,
It's behind on schedule.
yeah.
They're more than 6 months behind on schedule on the elementary school across the street from Dunbar. They haven't even turned dirt over there yet. And the same contractor is doing both schools.
Wow.
So why can't we, you know, be known
820, that's why.
what's going on? You know, why can't our school board representatives tell us, you know, case in point. Last year, in September, they put out the list of all the graduations that was going to be held at Dickies Arena in September.
Yes.
I got a copy of what it cost the school district to rent Dickies for all the commencement. Not a single school board representative had a meeting and said, hey, this is what they plan on doing for graduation. What y'all think? We found out about it in the newspaper when it was already a done deal. The contract had already been signed. So it's just the simple things like that. If you talking about we got a money crunch, why are you paying millions to go to Dickies Arena when you can go right there to Wickles and Grind?
What they
Commencement's
doing
only
for
gonna
children.
last an hour, hour and a half.
Mhm.
You got an hour to get these folks their piece of paper and get them on out so the next group can come in.
Mhm.
You know, what's the fan glow?
And that comes down to accountability, right? I know PTAs are brought up. I served 7 years on PTA leadership through campus, through the district itself, and also in the state on the advocacy committee. And one of the reasons I had to stop doing that is because as much as we worked to try to get leadership at Black and brown schools that were desperately in need of that engagement, the PTA model was not working for those communities because it's kind of a pay-to-play model. It takes a lot of free labor to be able to run those organizations. And so we actually need a different model for our schools.
I don't, I hate to make excuses, okay? Really, I don't want, but one of the things that I found when my daughter was in elementary school, it was in elementary school and at Dunbar High School and middle school, it's not necessarily pay to play. The thing is, it still goes back to finding those people who are interested in being involved. And then you have to give people a purpose and a reason to want to be involved. Now, I can't discount the fact that I'm not sure about the pay, where the pay part comes in. I know that they do fundraising.
Yeah, well, it's the membership fee.
In a well-off community, they've always done that.
Right.
I'm from a place where they didn't have at David T. Howard High School and the elementary school that I went to in Atlanta, Georgia, didn't have much. We were all poor, but parents came out and they involved themselves. That's the key, to get involved. And they can raise money, but they'll like you sell they raise money at one point, maybe selling lemonade, selling pies, people baking pies. So I think what we have to do is say, okay, it's the education part of it, and I don't want to get on this because I think we need to deal with. We know what the problem is now. What are solutions we come up with?
Mhm.
But don't throw the thing on money. We've always not had money, but we've always been able to come up with leaders from within the community who would speak up, and that's the thing I think we've got.
My friendly pushback is that while we've had moments of people taking on heroic efforts, it has never been sustained to the point that we were able to overcome the things that we have to overcome. And at the end of the day, we are where we are. And so my encouragement is just to say, you're spot on. We need more parent involvement. We need to identify those parents, support them, help them get involved. But we have to approach a different model than what is being presented to parents right now. And I think that's the big thing, is that how can we be responsive to our community to help support parents where they are and what they need, versus trying to implement a structure that they have actively said over and over and over and over, this structure doesn't work for us. this approach doesn't work for us. And I think that's one of the opportunities we have to figure out so that we can build something that is potentially sustainable and longer lasting, that is rooted in these different communities, whether it's the east side community, north side community, south side, whatever needs to be different. How do we help bring the resources and support for the parents in those communities in those spaces? So I just brought that up as my PTA experience to say, like, because we're missing that, we're missing what you're talking about, Mr. Starr, which is accountability. We don't have our structures for accountability to be able to make sure we are pushing and pressing for the needs of families and students, because that infrastructure just doesn't exist. And so sometimes there are things we can solve locally very easily that we are missing the opportunity.
Because I agree with you about the state. Go ahead with it.
We've always told this lie that knowledge is power. So if you're my school board representative, your vote on Tuesday night is supposed to reflect what the community wants, not what you want as an individual.
Right.
So if we can't make you hold community meetings to inform us of what's taking place, and you have an opportunity to hear our feedback so you can make a rational decision, we lost. Don't never hold a meeting. Don't tell nobody nothing what's going on. And not just school board, but all our elected officials. They don't ever hold community meetings. They don't ever tell nobody what's going on. Maybe once every 2 or 3 months, they may do something after the fact.
Right.
But how do we say, hey, look here, Alex, we elected you to be
Why
our
you put the words
representative.
together with me? Don't do that.
Your name on name, I know. So you got to be held accountable and keep us informed. We don't need you down there calling folks crazy and acting up. You need to tell us, and we go down there and cut somebody out.
Yeah.
Because you got to maintain your status on the board and hopefully get some votes. I ain't got to get no vote. I can go down there, call all of them, MF, whatever, and have my bail bonds waiting on me at the county jail. But see, you need to be there.
Right.
And if you don't come and tell us, we lost.
Yeah.
Every elected official needs to have somebody they can pick up the phone and say, look here, this is what they're going to do next week now. You need to rally folks so we can be ready and prepare for them. So when the folks come, you can come back and say, well, she might didn't say it the proper way, but she was in the ballpark of what's taking place. Now, how y'all going to fix this, what she's talking about?
One of the few elected officials and offices that are actively doing that, if not the only one in Tarrant County, is Commissioner Simmons. And that's an example of how community mobilizes.
She's in Arlington. We
Right.
can't vote for her.
But
Right, but just to use that as an example.
I would argue, I would argue though that that's on us too, and I can give these very recent examples of us being at city council, of us being at county commissioners court. And, throngs of people, of citizens are coming and saying, please don't do this, right? Or please do this, and we're being completely ignored. So we have to start electing better representation for ourselves on whether it's school board, county
She
commissioner,
opened that can of worms.
state.
We're passing-
I got this. She opened that can of worms. No, we going down that road.
No, let's not.
Oh, no, we going down that road.
But we
It's getting good. Cause of trouble.
I'm trying to think about how to approach this.
I love that you're a teacher too.
Diplomatically, sir. You on contract, sir.
It's so hard.
Diplomatically.
I think we just gotta be real. I personally have, and granted it was a different district, but I've personally experienced something where I was affected by something by my school, and we trying to get the community to come out, and the people who were supposed to be on the board based off of their resume and what they said they represented, we assumed they were allies.
Don't do it.
But they weren't. And they look like me. Right? I think there is some honesty that has to be said about the type of politics that are played within school districts.
Yeah.
To the point to where the representation is used as a shield to stop the accountability that you're mentioning, right? Because they can represent us, right? But they're not going to speak to us, right? And they're actually not going to do what's necessary to make the change because their politics are on the line. Their reputation is on the line. I say that because I feel like there's always this this conversation where it's like, well, we just need to elect, you know, better people to represent us. That is true, and we need to be honest about the money that exists within politics.
I totally agree
Or
with you.
within the school district, because $62 million is gone.
I
And
totally agree.
and so what I think needs to happen more is we need to start holding the district's feet to the fire. And I'm saying like making things inconvenient for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Take that as you may, right?
I wanna make
Because
note to it.
I,
We'll
be-
talk offline.
I believe that there are three things when it comes to making things change, specifically when you're dealing with institutions of power, right? I believe that if you mess with their money,
Come on.
right, they're gonna look at you. If you mess with business as usual, they're gonna look at you. But then if you mess with their image,
That's
they're definitely gonna look at you. And I feel that 1, 2, 3, or all three of those things need to be implemented as a community, because you can't continue to say that you're trying to serve us when we're preventing you from doing your operations, right, the way that you want to do them, right? Because if everything was going as smooth as they should, we wouldn't be doing these things. There wouldn't be this stoppage. Your money wouldn't be funny, right? And there wouldn't be these conflicting messages about who you are and what you're doing. And so I feel like those should be forms of a North Star, if you will, on how we should organize. Because a lot of politicians at this moment don't really care about what people have to say.
No.
They'll do the window dressing of like, okay, we held this public forum, right? Because I know, that's what we want. But they'll still go behind your back and do what they want to do, right? And I think that the organizing and the mobilizing of the years past is they understood that, right?
Yeah.
And they weren't so easily swayed by, okay, well, they let us have a meeting, we got to air. Because what they think is you just airing it out. They just need to get it off their chest. That's all it is. They just angry for the moment. But we know what's better for them, right? But y'all know what's better for y'all, right? Y'all know what's better for y'all's kids. Y'all know what they need. And I feel like they just spit in y'all's faces, or they spit in our faces by just giving us these meetings and not actually making changes. So
Piggyback on that.
Real quick, can we get him a chance to speak, and then we'll go back to
I actually agree with all of y'all points, because we literally set up at 4 or 5D on May the 20th when they were doing the vote. I believe it was 8-0. Basically, ain't nobody was listening to anything those parents said in the meetings. 'Cause every last one of them voted no on closing the schools. I'm on the mindset I don't think any school should close. That's just my opinion on that. I don't think any school should close at any point for any reason. If it gets to a point to where your test scores are so bad to where you even considering closing, turn that staff off.
It's needed.
Yeah, turn that staff off real quick. Get them out. On the one of the issues that I've noticed is that even with the elected officials, like you guys are both saying, you and Mr. Willis, right, Mr. Willie?
Star.
Mr. Starr, I'm sorry.
Willis Starr.
Mr. Starr, my apologies.
It's called Star.
It's not enough community representation, and then when it is, nobody's listening, and then, you got teachers about to lose their job behind the state, or their salaries are about to be cut. So, my apologies.
Okay, Star, you wanna go next and then we'll
I'm
talk about Houston ISD.
I'm gonna hit her last.
Okay.
Years ago, when Jim Bagsy was council representative for 8, Bert Williams was council representative for 5. The issue was the city of Fort Worth needed to divest their money in South Africa. They gave a little monkey and donut show and said, okay, met and all that old mess, but they were still doing the same thing. We organized 300 folks to go down to city council. Back then, everybody had 5 minutes to talk. We signed everybody up to talk,
That's right.
and we held city council till 3 o'clock in the morning. Wednesday morning, Mayor Bowling was the mayor. They called everybody and said, hey, what we need to do to resolve this? Because I need to go home and go to sleep. Because we told them we'll be back next Tuesday with the same folks or a different group of folks, and we want our 5 minutes. I don't know her, so she can't speak for me. I don't know him, he can't speak for me. I want my 5 minutes. And folks were just standing up there saying, hey, how y'all doing? It was a good day today. Hope you had something for talk the whole 5 minutes. They left out there at 3 o'clock in the morning. In 2 weeks, they divested their money in South Africa. We have got to have, and I'm stuck on this, leadership and hold them accountable to give us information so we know how to act. We don't know. We don't know nothing. There's no reason on this earth that our school board representatives did not come forth and tell us, hey, look here, the state about to take us over. We in bad shape. They about to take us over. We found out on Channel 8 News, the state fixing to take over Fort Worth ISD. But see, the secret they keeping, the same time Houston got the letter saying we taking y'all over, Fort Worth had already got a letter.
Back in maybe.
Just our politics was a little stronger than Houston, and they didn't go ahead and take us over. But we got the letter that, hey, y'all about to get taken over. They took Houston.
But the sad thing about that, Willie, is even some of the board members didn't even know. They were told that this was a possibility. Now, if they didn't know, the letter came to somebody.
Yeah,
No. If we're being told right now, we're not sure what's gonna happen.
No, we know what's gonna happen.
Look, we know what's gonna happen now.
Yeah, now.
They gonna take.
So,
We just don't know if they're gonna do the whole board or they gonna keep the board and send a conservative. That's all we waiting to see. Are they gonna send a conservative in that's gonna manage the board and make sure the board do what they supposed to do? Or they gonna tell the board, y'all get your toothbrush and go home, we fix and replace
okay, now, is that conservative, can I ask a question too?
you? Okay.
That conservative, will that person have, will they be operating from, because I also go back to where what's been happening and we've been remiss is we're dealing with individuals. And I don't like dealing with individuals because that's too petty. I like to deal with what is the policy, because we can change people every day. But if you don't change the policy and day-to-day operations, the policy and what's that other practice and policy, if you don't change those two, if you don't understand those, we can change people, we can change the people every day. So that means we've got to sit down, be willing to, just like we here tonight, we gotta find what the policy is about a particular issue that we're gonna fight. And we gotta know that policy better than anybody on that board. I know that's tough, but when we shut down a chemical lab in this city, we knew every chemical that was in that building. We knew how it would react. We even knew how it would react to the weather. That, and then when Fort Worth got called a environmentally unsafe city, a racist city, by Channel 8 and by ABC News, that chemical plant was shut down in 24 hours. And that's why I say, we're sitting here, I would like to see us say, what are we gonna do? And I'll come out at night and sit over a table with the folks.
Yeah. Well, we're definitely gonna have some time for that, but we wanted to get everyone's perspective. We'll go to you next.
Okay.
And then we'll talk a little bit about Houston and talk about what's next.
The main thing I hear is the lack of pressure or the lack of application of pressure. Your complaint is about pressure. Really and truly, at the end of the day, the representative doesn't feel pressure.
Right.
from the community. So the representative moves as a representative wants to move. Right? Parents will put pressure in a particular area and not necessarily in an area where there is critical need.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and then we're bound by contract. We're locked in, so we can't apply pressure. We are relying on you all to help us because we're in there toiling the sand. We're toiling the land, so to speak. We're planting seeds on fertile soil, and that fertile soil is our future, it's our children. But we are out here alone. We're alone. So we need real, genuine advocates, not people who, I don't know why the word pontificate is coming to my mind, who just
That's a-
talk to be talking. Organization has been done in this country. I mean, this country was founded on being organized. You know, albeit, you know,
Certain guy.
the reasons. But that's not the conversation we're having right now. You know, so like a lot of things are happening to us, and we're powerless in the classroom. We're powerless. You have these other people who go to the school board, and they're banned. They're getting books banned.
Yeah.
And they have no school, they have no students in the district. They have no grandchildren in the district. They don't even live in the district.
No.
They don't even live in the county. But they're putting what? Pressure. And the district, the trustees are responding. I saying a PD this year, they gave us 17 pages worth of banned books, but a new curriculum.
That outside pressure is funded though. That's a big piece.
Yes. Yes, we know that
We
in
don't need
Texas,
their money, but we do need some resources, right?
but in Texas, everyone knows the color green is what really matters. Blue and red doesn't matter. The color green is what matters. But you mean to tell me all of us couldn't put $20?
Oh, I love that thinking.
You know what I mean?
No.
Yes. Yes, I think.
But if you have a no in the room, then what you're doing is you're losing that pressure. You know, we know people in influential places. They were our classmates in high school. You know, many of us are products of this district or adjacent to it. They were our classmates. We know how to have those meetings. I mean, I popped up on Scribner having a clandestine meeting and I applied pressure. Oh, so since we're meeting clandestinely, hey, let's talk about it. Why are you trying to close this school and make it disappear because it's producing? Make it make sense. We apply. That's very small school board. That PTA that did work. The PTA model does work. It's the hours that don't work.
Yeah, right.
It's the time of day.
Yeah.
We weren't soccer moms in the middle of the day.
Yeah, advocacy definitely always works.
You know,
But the particular application of that advocacy model isn't fitting with our community.
so then you have the autonomy to tweak. So we met everybody got off at 5:00 and we met up and we applied pressure. And as a result of that, not only did the school not close, it got a new building.
Yeah.
That happened here in Fort Worth. But I recognize as a teacher, I had to quit the district to apply the pressure. And I was fine with that.
So I want to highlight, because I want to make sure we don't keep Donna here too late.
Right.
I want to give some stats of Houston's impact of the takeover. And then I want to transition to highlight a local effort that is being organized, but then also get y'all's perspective on what actions are we willing to take. Okay, so just a couple of things. 2 years, this article came out in March earlier this year from the Houston Chronicle. 2 years since the Houston IC takeover, nearly 7,400 students were lost from the takeover. So 7,400 students left the district. In comparison, during the pandemic, the 2 years of the pandemic, 13,000 students left. So this is half of pandemic level disruption. And we all know the pandemic disrupted us a lot, right? And so this is kind of the barometer of what we're looking at. 177 171 principals left, and there have been at least 177 principal changes across the 156 Houston ISD campuses. So leadership changed massively, and talent and impact is a spectrum, but those high numbers, we know we're probably going to lose. They lost good talent and people during that time. And then last but not least, 4,700 teachers left the district in the first year of the takeover.
That's a lot of teachers.
So the impact of not having our teachers in the classroom means there is a body in the room. One of the biggest complaints from teachers from Houston ISD is that they were essentially giving these half-baked curriculum scripts that they had to look at, and they would go to these management meetings and they would talk to community and they would try to show them what they are giving us to teach your kids will not help their future.
Mm-mm.
And some fought, some have stayed to fight, but 4,700 left that first year. And that is a massive hole that will happen. If any of these similar trends happen with the takeover of Fort Worth ISD and we lose a massive amount of students, well, that's tied to funding. If we lose a massive amount of leadership, if we lose a massive amount of teachers, the burdens we already have as community to try to solve these issues exponentially harder.
Some of those have already started.
Oh, yeah,
those have
definitely
already
in
started.
work they have.
So the question now to finish us out is, what are we going to do? Where are people at in terms of what we want to do to take action? There is a group called Fort that has recently had an article. I've been to a couple of their coalition meetings. Right now, I'll be honest, this is primarily white parents from the West Side that are starting to push this. One of the questions for Black and brown leaders is this a space that they want to join in to be able to be a part of the fight of trying to stop the takeover as the initial step? And the step 2 is to address these inequities that are happening within our communities? Or does the community feel like there's something different that they want to address and tackle and what's going on?
Question.
Yes.
If we're talking about the number of teachers that Houston lost, and there's potential of Fort Worth may go down the same road, would it be a good idea to start forcing the district now to tell us or inform us what are their recruiting methods going forward? How are you going to recruit teachers to fill the possible vacancies that you might lose based on what Houston done? Not that we are, but just based on what Houston done. What type of recruitment is Fort Worth ISD having to combat the possibility of the loss of teachers that we may get like Houston do?
We can ask that definitely, but I can share that one of the ways Houston's filled the gap was alternative certifications.
Oh.
And in some cases, no
Well,
certifications.
as late as April a couple of years ago.
And so that becomes also very dangerous because you get some of these religious folks who start entering the classroom and putting their perspective and lens and propaganda in the classroom that also can cause harm, right?
Well, Eastern Hill, as late as April a couple of years ago, had a non-certified teacher teaching an English class for I think he was a senior, and they had a non-certified math teacher teaching a geometry class. So they had non-certified teachers teaching main core courses that kids was dependent on to go to college the next level. So what role you gonna have to start recruiting teachers to fill the vacancies you have automatically? And based on what's coming out of Houston, how do we get ahead of the ball so that we don't be caught with even more uncertified teachers in classrooms?
That's the question for the district.
Mm.
That's a question it's a great question. It's a question for the district.
Okay, I made a note of that, teacher recruitment.
They just had a hiring fair not too long ago.
And I actually want to spotlight really quick some of the comments I've been getting online. So I just put in the comments the link to the fwfort.org website. I'll put a link in the chat also around the article that was spotlighted. So Jamal Williams, who works for Commissioner Miles, did join the chat. I don't know if he's still watching. Give us another comment, Jamal, if you're there. But he said, absolutely, I recommend engaging with your trustee. Commissioner Miles' office does work with Fort Worth ISD leadership. That's what he put in the comments. We have a Lorraine Dukes who said, as long as the Fort Worth ISD continues to funnel things towards their star schools and ignore the black and brown communities, we're going to continue to fail. And I absolutely agree with that. And then Keith, who's one of the organizers with the FW4, said, if there is a question, I want to say that all are encouraged in Fort. We recognize the current imbalance in representation. And this is where this effort has started with West Side white parents and communities. But Keith, as one of the organizers, is actively wanting to have more diversity and representation. Okay, so we know that we all got to share the state problems, the local problems. We all got to give our perspectives. We all were able to kind of have some back and forth. We talked about the impact that Houston incurred. We talked about some of the needs of accountability and pressure and things that are going on. So let's open it up, y'all's perspectives. What are some of the actions that we are willing to do as individuals and that we would be interested in? Because I know there's one part where we can share a lot of ideas for other people to do work, and I'm not that interested in that. I'm interested in what, as individuals in this room right now, are you interested in seeing so that you can join and be a part of it, or even maybe interested in engaging on? So who would like to kick us off and start?
I put in an application to volunteering for ISD. So I'll be going up after work every day, make sure that I'm actively involved in making sure somebody's kid is tutored in the area that they're gonna need help in. Because it just breaks my heart to see some of the stuff that I see. So
Definitely, maybe that could be something we can send out encouragement if folks are interested in volunteering at the district. Here's how you can do it. Sign up. You're going through that experience and everything.
yeah, you going forward, ISD, do their volunteer application. It'll take them, I say, less than a day for them to clear you. And then once you get cleared, you can put in one school or all schools. In my case, I put in all schools. So
Anybody else?
Okay, I put in already I'll be putting in for going through that process for the reading program, and I'll be for Van Zandt Way in elementary school, that's my neighborhood. And I am in contact with my school board rep, but I've been kind of, past couple of months, I've been kind of out of the picture. So I can't fault him for me being out of the picture. But he does come to the neighborhood association and make reports.
Who's your rep?
Wallace Bridges. He comes to the.
You want his phone number?
He does come to the historic Southside neighborhood association and make reports.
Okay. All right. So contacting school board trustees. Okay. What else?
This organization you talk about, I think I would like to work with a core group of people. If we're gonna join that other organization who they said they would love to have they would like to have some other members come in from a group like this. I think we need to decide what it is that before we walk in that door with them, we need to decide what it is we want as a group. What does people upset sitting up there? What do people like? What do we want to do when we walk in there? Are we going to accept everything that they say they're going to do, or do we come in and say, "Look, these are some of the things we want to do," and be willing to negotiate so that some of those things? Because I'm not for going in and saying I support praying and everybody got to pray every morning. I ain't for that.
Yeah. We
Especially
have to have
especially when we had
some understanding of the
nobody
goals,
praying.
right?
They were looking at the girl next door.
Alright, so maybe interest in having
Oh,
a
Say,
meeting
what?
focus a little bit more on what the group is doing and.
What you're doing, and does that fit, and this group says, okay, these are the things we're interested in, so if the state does, and, how can we support what they're doing, and these are things that we want. So
I'm
we
gonna
don't-
text
we
the
don't
article.
Walk in with an empty slate,
I'm gonna text the article on the website to everybody who's on
Okay.
the text list and email list,
okay?
so that you can also have that to look at. And I think on their website, they have a way of kind, but also if you wanna let me know when you get
But I
the
think
contact
this group-
information.
This group needs to sit down and decide what they want.
Okay, gotcha.
Can I pitch on that?
I don't know, let me get that perspectives from folks and then I'll let you talk to folks.
I was just gonna say, yeah, I'll come
Oh,
back to me.
Yeah,
I don't care if it's the school board, city councilman, the different organizations that's represented, I think that's really kind of one of the, situations that we're in that's clogging everything up. We're focused on the things that we don't have in common, but we need to try to find commonalities. And when you think about the kids, the commonality that all of us should have, whether it's black, white, green, or whatever, is that we're concerned about the quality of education for every child that's in the Fort Worth Independent School District. Okay, focus on the commonalities and agree that's what we're going to attack, is the commonalities, not the differences. And everybody can't be a chief. Some individuals gotta drop some personal pride and be willing to serve for the betterment of the city and the kids. I think we do that, we can really accomplish a lot.
so does that look like maybe us having a invite to organizations across the district and maybe pulling
Resources together,
those resources together, maybe like a organizational fair or something?
yes.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? And you wanna work on that one? Okay. Any other actions, thoughts, or things that folks want to share in terms of things that they want to see, be a part of, or anything?
I think one thing that's important to recognize too is just like, at least I have young kids and I like work with a lot of young kids in elementary school. And just like parents are tired. So even when I think of action, it's like, it's so hard because all of us want to like plug in and like get our hands dirty and help as much as we can. But it's like parents are capped out like with work and they can only volunteer so much because they can barely go pick up their kids, you know, from school on time. So that's the hard thing, is just the systemic issue there where it's having the capacity to like go and do that work.
Yeah.
So just recognizing that.
so that's what you have to, and I get that, cause I was one of those,
Yeah.
parents, but, that's why you have to make it worth people's while, right?
Yeah,
If you were,
totally.
cause the empty conversations, there's so much of that in Fort Worth already.
Oh,
There's just so much of that in Fort Worth. And then also, this is my poli-sci background coming into play now. If you combine forces, right, moving by yourself, force when you're together, Prophet Neo, you know what I'm saying? But if you do that, both sides, in order to see what typically would happen is one group's agenda gets pushed more than another. And we know historically how that works out, right? Because the resources on this side of town are different, so there's that. So it's like, oh, well, you're not bringing this to the table. And so we have this visibility and we know this person who's on the board of this. And this other side is much more boots on the ground, So the numbers look good when we join. I'm reminded of the Women's March with, the suffragist movement, when the numbers look good when Mary McLeod Bethune and Ida B. Wells joined. But, oh, y'all got to get to the way back section, And it's like, no, that's not gonna happen if we're all gonna benefit from this, because women all should vote, right?
Right.
Then we all need visibility. There's no waiting to see how this works out. So I, both sides need to come to the table. I would even say, bring the teachers into it.
Please.
Bring the teachers into the conversation, not just parents, not just community. Bring all these stakeholders in and say, what would you like to see?
Yeah.
Is that new curriculum working by and large? Or would you like to see more, or the different type of certifications or endorsement programs in your school? What do the students need? Have that holistic conversation. And then, because parents think they know, but they don't know. They don't know. They don't know what's going on. Who you're dropping off and what is different from who walks in the door.
Mm,
Can I ask?
you better say that.
Do we need- Okay, in order to get those teachers, do we need to create a safe zone?
Yes.
A safe place where we can have those people to have a conversation where they can feel free to discuss or write down and give it to somebody on a piece of paper saying these are the things. So, but we need to create a safe zone, because if I was a teacher, knowing the vindictive nature of this city.
Then forward dynasty watchdog.
But
Probably in a
if
room
you have
right now.
if you have a state of some.
Oh, no.
On mine.
Okay, but are y'all hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, create that safe zone so that those teachers can then come in, say what, so no matter, this curriculum does not fit. Like, no kid can learn how to read looking at this curriculum.
Or
No
look at
kid
this tablet.
can learn math looking at this curriculum.
So it sounds like two conversations. The collective of Black and Brown community leaders need to have a conversation around what are the things that they want to see change and happen, and what are the things they're looking for collaboration with other communities. And then we need to have a separate conversation about the teachers who are working within these spaces and with these communities, having a conversation to facilitate, to get their perspective in a safe space that they feel comfortable enough to share. And maybe that's something I could work with you on, or at least have a conversation about.
I've already been texted. People already been hitting me up. They recognize my voice.
Okay.
I told you.
Yeah.
I've been people up my phone. That's why I've been like, oh my God. I knew it though, but
So that's a yes. We can talk.
Listen, I'm on contract at least one more year.
Yeah,
so
or just
They
give,
might not
or
have-
just give me the baton to the next person to.
let's find a retired teacher.
Okay.
That's a good
A
idea.
retired
That's a
teacher?
good idea.
Yeah.
You said a retired teacher?
Hey.
A retired teacher?
I think a retired teacher would be the best because as representation for teachers.
Her mind is in negative every month.
You know what I
Could the
mean?
three of us have a
There,
conversation?
there it is. I just think, not because I'm fearful. I grew up in a family where I was taught not to be afraid. Right. But let me get this boy out of college. Last semester.
I think that's a big thing, right? I think we're living in such a time where we can't just protest if we don't have forms of mutual aid, right? I think a lot of people will talk about the Montgomery bus boycott, but they won't talk about the years and the networks that existed so that they could boycott.
Yes.
Right, so we need to figure out a way, why don't we have a fund for teachers who want to speak up? So if they do decide to fire you, it's like, all right, we got you, we got some money, it's not a whole lot, right? Unions do it all the time,
Farm
right?
workers did the same thing.
Right,
Pulled the credit union local.
created, yeah, so that they can have money,
Gave
because what
groceries.
right, because what happens is the narrative that you gotta protest, right, just off of a whim or just off of your benevolence, right, is good, but it's not the full story, right? They literally have people donating shoes to them so that they could walk to
Whatever
work,
is necessary.
right? Because they realize that it's not just doing the thing that gets the cameras in front of people, right? It's also supporting the network so that people can live for their day to day, right? So I think that you bringing that part up is like, okay, let's figure it out. How can we start a fund to make sure that he does finish college, right? So you can be like, every person shouldn't have to fear their point of living in order to speak out. That's not a democracy.
Absolutely not.
But that's why I was saying you create a safe forum just for those teachers. None of us, nobody else. And that way they can talk and give and have a forum where they can say among themselves, this is the type of thing that is not working. You see what I mean? That way, when they walk away, they leave us a boilerplate of information that then we can use and we can work from. That leaves them, that way they are not, they don't have to be threatened, or anything, that we don't take no names. We know who's that, somebody will know, but when it comes down to the information, they will share that information, and why this tool is not implementable.
And I think that it's really good intention for us to facilitate that, but we have to be prepared and we have a responsibility. If we facilitate that and the teachers provide this information and indicate where they need support and what the challenges are, it can't just be another conversation, like you're saying, and then it goes into the air. We have to be prepared for the responsibility
Doing something.
of the next steps after that.
That's.
And I think if we facilitate these two conversations based on what everyone is sharing, then we will have more than enough for us to activate. And whether the takeover is stopped or what happens, this has to be our final excuse in terms of like not moving forward to actually solve this, to build these funds, for everyone to chip into $10 or $20 to build what we have to build to solve this. And it's not gonna happen overnight, but we can no longer keep spinning our wheels.
Right.
And I feel like spinning our wheels is what has happened too often in the community. You know, we complain about local leadership, we complain about state leadership, but then we have community that has dropped the ball as well, right? So this is an opportunity for us to figure that out once and for all. Okay, any other thoughts?
I think he wanted to say something.
Okay, I want him to talk about the organization last, so I want to make sure if I'm capturing any thoughts from the community before we move to that.
Sure. I'm Andre McEwen. I'm just here. I got an invite. Good to see Mr. Starr and other folks here. But I'm the son of two retired Fourth ISD teachers. My sister and cousins work there now. I would just say this: collaboration, urgency, and emergency. I'm from Fort Worth. There seems to be a delay. We've got to be urgent and emergency now. But Starr talked about how does a conservatorship work? It's unilateral. Mike Moran, commissioner, he makes the decision. He put Mike Miles in Houston. He made that decision. So that's how that works. Unilateral. He doesn't ask anybody.
Yep.
Board managers, he gets rid of them, he brings them in. That's how that works. So at the end of the day, it's urgency and emergency, energy every day. It's not a lot of conversation. I've been around this. This is now. It's disappointing. It's upsetting. I had a meeting with the superintendent 2 weeks ago because I refuse to believe 18 schools, majority of being in brown and black communities, that we can't take over our own schools.
Yes.
I'm a 60s baby and run our schools.
Yeah.
We have smart people. Ricky Clark, his funding just got cut.
Yeah.
Okay, just talked to him in tears today. Y'all know what he does. So at the end of the day, not about a lot of conversation. It's about money.
Yep.
$10, $5.
Color green.
Put it in.
Yep.
You know, West Side, I'm from Fort Worth. West Side gets that. East Side doesn't get that.
Right.
So let me be real.
They don't.
Okay. I
Maybe
grew up
that's the
in South
collaboration with the West Side,
That's
help give
Okay.
those initial $5 or $10 to help get it rolling.
exactly. So we got to collaborate both social and economically with our money. Okay, now.
Yeah.
So I'm at Tarrant County College. My support here is dual degree. Tell students about dual degree programs. Tell students about how to get their credits now while they're in school. Okay, the 12 years, we don't have to go 12 years anymore. That's a money play.
Yeah.
Okay, students can get it 10 years and go. They got to get to a quality of life quickly as soon as possible because parents, are being challenged every day. So again, this is an urgency and emergency, not a lot of conversation. At 64 years old, I'm not having a lot of conversation about this. You know, Star can make all those conversations. I don't. Okay? Urgency and emergency. My mentors, Dee Jennings, Irma Johnson Hadley, Deion Bagsby, Reby Carey, okay? They're gone now, but they left it with us. So what are we gonna do?
Yep.
Okay, so anyway, that's all I got to say.
I love it.
All right, that's where I am.
Urgency,
Appreciate
emergency. I made note of that. Man, would you like to share anything before? Are you sure? I can't do that. I would refuse. No. All right, let's open it up to talk about the effort that's going on.
Okay. Hi, guys. My name is Zach. And first, I just want to say thank you for putting this together, for organizing this, Alex and the owner, and letting me come in. I just want to absorb and hear you. And I love all the perspective that you have. And I 100% agree with everything you've said. From the teacher perspective to giving a safe place for teachers to talk, to urgency and emergency. I get all that. To going in and after school reading. There's programs called Read to Win. Raptor is a great, or the volunteer portal where we can all go and volunteer at our local school. That's the best way to make an immediate impact on the literacy crisis that we have. But this organization that I was asked to help, and you're right, 100% about everything you've said. I do live in Arlington Heights neighborhood, and I get it, and I hear you, and I agree. This organization and your voice is absolutely necessary. Like Keith said on the web just now, we need more representation for its families organized resisting takeover. And it was just organized in the last month, really the last week or two. Clergy, a lot of pastors, a lot of pastors that you probably know, and also a lot of business leaders, and mostly parents, just parents that have Fort Worth ISD kids. But we need those stakeholders that are teachers in the conversation, and they're scared to talk because of obviously contract and the policies in place at Fort Worth ISD. They're the most at risk. The teachers and principals are most at risk.
Yeah.
We need to hear their voice and somehow bridge that gap. But I'm here to talk after this is over. I want to listen to you. I'm happy to connect. We can make another meeting. We can do Zoom calls. We can do whatever we can because the urgency and emergency, like this gentleman said, it's happening in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So if we don't go to every single board meeting, every single city council meeting, and I understand most of you were there at city council. I was there and I heard the amazing speeches. And I know Tuesday was a big meeting at the commissioner's court for the racist gerrymandering. I get all that. But this decision is about TEA and what they're about to do with Mr. Morath. It's unilateral, and what's happening in Houston is terrible. It's not good for the kids. It's not good for the teachers. Getting rid of libraries, making them detention centers, discipline halls, and over focus on STAR, which we know STAR is terrible and needs to be changed. So I wanted to let you know I'm here as one of the organizers of FORT, and I want to hear you and listen to you and connect after this meeting.
Any comments, questions before we close out? Donna, thank you for the extra time tonight. Center for Change is going to give out a book to an attendee from the Doc Bookshop, something we've started now for Black and Brown Coalition meetings. And so if I can get folks' name, I'm going to do a random drawing once we close out, and that way we can give out this book. Oh, yeah. Do you have any community announcements you want to share to folks before we close out? All right, so the Doc Bookshop is having the Trinity River Book Festival. Since Donna's not going to get in front of the camera and talk about it, it's September 13th. Every community member needs to support this annual book festival because it is one of the best things that we have in Fort Worth, and it has been developed and run by the Doc. This is the 4th year anniversary, I think.
Yeah.
4th year
Yeah.
of the Trinity River Book Festival. So there's going to be a read to run in the morning starting at 9 a.m. 9 a.m. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So at 9 a.m.
You gotta
Sign up, get a team to run a 5K or a 1K, help support the Doc. There's going to be numerous authors, vendors, different activities for kids and students. It's off 7th Street. More information at Trinity River Book Festival. We'll put the link in the chat and we'll email and text everyone afterwards. But follow the Doc Bookshop, follow the Trinity River Book Festival on Instagram
What book you getting?
and social media.
Oh, yeah.
It's that one.
And then be sure to attend and support this event because it needs to be bigger and bigger and bigger every year. We're talking about education. We're talking about support. The Doc Bookshop is doing their part with the Trinity River Book Festival. And also come by the Doc anytime you have a chance. Buy a book, support their events. Let's make sure that this is a thriving, independent, Black-owned bookstore that continues to grow and is strong within our Fort Worth community. Okay. Any other community announcements, Donna?
2 books.
2 books? We're gonna give away 2 books? All right. Okay. Any other community announcements, Donna?
No, that's it.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for attending. I'm gonna take down names of attendees and we're gonna give some books away. Shout out to Community Frontline for reading this book as a part of their book club last year. Allow Me to Retort, A Black Guy's Guide to the Constitution by Ellie Mistel. So
Nice.
thanks, everyone, for joining us.
It'll be a little done. Good.